Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the Daily Live Extra. You're making me stumble with words. I'm joined by Ned.
Satire.
Baz is on holiday. Yay. He just sent us a picture. Where was he? Where was he? On holiday?
I was going to say something very funny then, but I'm not. St. James Park.
St. James.
Sports Direct Arena.
Sports Direct Arena. Why would anyone go on holiday to Newcastle? I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Yeah, it's all kicking off. Or it was all kicking off over Anthony Gordon. Suggestions of bids, £40 million bids for Anthony Gordon, led to lots of debate over whether Everton should sell him or not. Our understanding, the latest on it, is that Everton haven't received any bids and they will not be welcoming any bids. That is our understanding right now at 1:34. Yeah, 1:34. See, it's
2 minutes out.
It's
It's now 1:33.
It's not 2 minutes out at all. What are you talking about? So,
I believe the match.
I am in the future. That's the difference.
Time ain't real anyway.
It ain't real.
In fact, it's 5 o'clock.
So yeah. So I mean, lots of people have had their say over it, and let's continue to have our say over it. But would you sell Anthony Gordon?
No, I wouldn't. But I wouldn't hold it against anyone who would.
Why though? Give me a reason why you wouldn't sell Anthony Gordon.
I just think the way I look at it doesn't send that. All right, forget that we need a striker and we need goals.
Yeah.
Anthony Gordon at the moment isn't like a goal scorer we need, but you know, it doesn't send a very good message if we're selling a player who's, you know, like
Who are you sending the message to?
other clubs.
Why?
Our fans.
Why? Does Lille selling Onana send any kind of message to their fans?
Well, that's how they run things, don't they?
So what? And
We've sold Richarlison.
And they won the league 2 seasons ago. Sorry, the season before last.
And they reinvest the money into younger players. And that's
So
how
why
their business is.
wouldn't we reinvest the money?
Well, they might do, and to be honest, people will say, and their argument, which they probably are right. In fact, they obviously are. You can get not obvious.
Okay,
but they are.
Stand your ground. Come on.
I wouldn't sell him, but
Okay.
people say, "Oh, you get
people.
You get better." For
Tell
the
me
money.
why you wouldn't sell him. Tell me. Give me your.
Because I like. Because I like him.
Because you like him.
I know people will say you can get better, and of course you could, but you could have got better for the money we spent on Dwight McNeil, arguably.
No.
Arguably.
Arguably, yeah.
But he's in the plans, and obviously Anthony Gordon is part of our manager's plans and the club's plans. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been playing up front for the past few games. Obviously, otherwise they'd sell him as well. We had this a month ago with Newcastle. The club aren't interested. I'm not saying that the Newcastle came in for him because they probably, you know, for all I know, that could have been rumours. The club aren't interested in him. They've said he's here to stay. They said he's going nowhere.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you, would you sell him?
No, I wouldn't sell him.
Why? I want to know why. Like a proper definitive answer.
Because he's a good player.
Yeah.
And he's young, and I like him.
And you like him.
Yeah.
Is that a reason?
Yeah.
So if Everton sold him and got 3 players in who started winning his games, you'd rather have Anthony Gordon because you like him.
Well, we've sold Richarlison for 60 million.
Yeah.
And I'd have thought that they'd, you know, without having to sell Gordon, they've already got that sorted anyway. They brought Dwight McNeil in for an undisclosed fee. If they had no plans without selling Gordon to bring in a player,
but what happens if
that's on them? That's
what happens if
right
now Everton are sitting there and they've got the list of targets here that they could get, and a list of targets here, A and B. A are prohibitive because Everton just don't have the cash because of FFP. B are like your Che Adams of the world. What happens if selling Anthony Gordon suddenly opens up the world of list A with players who score 15 to 20 goals a season and suddenly propel Everton from being a team that can't score goals to being a team that's very dangerous? Because all I'm hearing is a lot of people going, I like what I've seen in the first 2 games. Just if we just need a striker. What if selling Anthony Gordon, who has played in both of those games, by the way, suddenly opens up a world of 2 15 to 20 goals a season, or 1 15 to 20 goals a season, and another one who scores 10 goals a season? What if that world suddenly opens up?
I think then you'll lose quality on the wings and you'll lose quality. I don't think Gray's had a very good start to the season. I don't think he's really done much.
But Anthony Gordon hasn't had a very good start to the season.
But I expect more from Gordon this season than I do with Gray. McNeil, I'm not quite sure yet. Well, hopefully he comes good. But if we're in that situation where we've got no money to bring goals in, then they basically all like to get the player they want in. We'll throw money up the wall for no goals.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. That's the point, though, isn't it?
Then you'll have to sell goals.
20 years ago, I'd be sitting where you are now, and I'd be saying exactly what you'd be saying now.
Our hands are tied. I don't want to sell Gordon, but the argument's there. We've got no goals and we've got no money.
Yeah. So Anthony Gordon suddenly opens up the world of money.
I don't want to sell him, but like you said.
No, but I'm trying to get to the bottom of why you don't want to sell him. You're not really giving me a concrete reason. You're going around the houses.
I just like him.
But in what way do you like him?
Good footy player. He's young.
Is he a good footy player though?
Yeah, of
like,
course he is.
What I mean by that is, does what he has right now help Everton? This is what I'm trying to get down to.
No, and I even said a few months ago to Baz, and I'll still say the same. He shouldn't be like our best player. He should be in around the first team, hoping to improve. We should have better players, of course we should. But at the moment, obviously, we've not got a very good squad, have we? And we've got no money to improve it. Our hands are very much tied, as in, like, we didn't want to sell Richarlison. I imagine that it was in the. Obviously, we had to plan to sell him because we need money. We need to bring players in. That's business.
But doesn't every team sell players though, at one stage or another?
Some people plan it, and part of the plan, some people are forced to sell in a certain time zone because they.
But are you
FFP?
Are you more looking at the situation from the point of view of, like, what does it say if Everton are selling a player like Anthony Gordon?
Yeah, and just what you're losing on. If we sell him and replace him with a better player, which you could do for 50 million. 50 million is a lot for Gordon. That'd be a very
but
good
what you got to
offer.
remember is it's not just 50 million though. It's 50 million. Like, clean. It's like for your FFP
onto your books, and it's all profit as well.
For your FFP. It's the whole thing. The whole shebang goes down. It would sort us out for a lot of our FFP issues in one clean go. Listen, I don't want to be selling talent, but if a bid for 50 million come in, I would find it very hard for Everton to turn down. I really would. I think as a footballer, I think he's got a lot of. He's got talent. I think there's more to come, a lot more to come. I think how he's being used in the first two games has been ridiculous. I think Frank Lampard's got it completely wrong, absolutely, completely wrong.
I understand. So the first game
I don't understand it now. The game, he's not a number 9.
Trying it again.
He's never going to be a number 9, and I think Frank Lampard's got that completely wrong. I think Frank Lampard has to look at that and go, I've made an absolute mess of that, because he has. He's made an absolute mess of that. Rondon come on Saturday, and suddenly the pitch opened up when he came on with Onana, and you had a bit of shape, and suddenly Gordon went on the left and looked a million times better because that's his position. So I think that's on the manager. I just see I'm worn down. I've seen this all before, and it's to me, Everton on their current trajectory will sell Anthony Gordon. It mightn't be this summer, but they will sell Anthony Gordon. They always sell. I've watched Everton for 37 years. They always sell. They can never keep players. Do you know what I mean? When Rooney went, that to me was just like, that was like the innocence of football.
They don't always seem to replace them. That's my worry.
Well, they don't, but that's not the point. They always sell. Now, for 50 million for a player that I think at the moment doesn't. I'll be honest. He doesn't get in my team on Saturday, Anthony Gordon. He just doesn't. He just doesn't get in my team. If we're playing 3 at the back and we've got wing backs, Anthony Gordon doesn't get in my team. So I know other people will go, well, he's first team, and that's fine. The way I look at it is that for 50 million quid, what you're buying there is Chelsea can afford to pay 50 million quid for the chance of a player like Anthony Gordon becoming good, and the fact that he's English and all that. can we afford to hang on to a player and not bring in 50 million for that chance? Because people from the outside, I was watching Sky yesterday, and you had Carragher and you had Souness. Now Carragher, obviously both Reds, but Carragher was saying Everton just can't afford to sell him because he's a local boy, he's one of their best players. And Souness, looking from the outside, was like, I've not seen anything from this kid. Like, if you got me 50 million for him, I'd be over the moon with it. Carragher was looking more of like what it would do to the fan base and how it would leave the fans. But I've been looking on Twitter in the last 24 hours. I don't see a massive outcry about selling him. So from that point of view, I don't think it would be a huge issue. The issue is, and you're absolutely right, by the way, is what would they do with the money? Do they have a plan A and a plan B for the centre forward position? If they did have a plan A, and you were like confident in them, then and Everton could bring in maybe a striker and a winger to replace him, then I'd bite your hand off for the 50 million. Because I think the difference is, and again, this is a player where people go, oh, he's going to be amazing. He's going to be an England player. If that happens, he'll be at Everton for about a year longer than that happens. That's the horrible reality of it. Because any player we ever get that's any good, we sell. That's a simple facts. And that won't change till there's a fundamental reshaping of Everton Football Club. It's just history tells you that. Everton can't keep older players. Even when we had our very best team, we sold Gary Lineker. We cannot keep players. We are not a club that keeps older players. We have players who stay because maybe, the likes of Seamus Coleman and Leighton Baines were two players that probably should have left. If they'd left, they'd have trophies. Now, what they've got with Everton is memories, but they would have had trophies if they'd gone elsewhere. But that's on them, if that's what they wanted. Other people don't see it like that. Other people will go, I've got a 10-year lifespan as a footballer at the top end. I want to go and win things. I want to go and do something. It's a very short career. People forget that. So it's only an early part of your life, and for me, it's if Everton are keeping him.
What do you think Lampard's opinion on it would be if 50 million bid came in? Do you think he'd say, yeah, get me some better players, or do you think he'd want to keep hold of him?
Manager's job is not to be is not really to have control of that situation. A manager's job nowadays is a director of football makes those decisions, obviously with them. He probably wouldn't be happy because he really likes Anthony Gordon. But I don't personally. For me, it's a. I look at it like this, and again, you can take the sort of romance out of it. I have a long time ago. I know a lot of people are different on football, but people see it differently. To me, Everton need goals in the team right now. And if Everton could bring in players with money that were guaranteed goals, and they're the goals that get you points, that's all that matters to me. And I think that's, to me, that's the way I look at it. I know the last two games of Everton have been like, all right, we're just missing a striker. Well, how long does that go on for? Because in my eyes, if Everton don't get a striker in, we're gonna have a really bad season. Because there's no goals in this. There's no goals in this team. There just isn't. There's no goals.
We always seem to overlook bringing goals in transfer.
You can have as many centre backs as you want. You can have as many centre midfielders as you want. If you don't have people to put the ball in the back of the net, you aren't winning football games, and that's all that matters. Points are all that matter. So, listen, Everton, looks like they're standing firm. They're not prepared to sell him. If that's the case, fine. Then it was 24 hours of mad activity. Maybe Chelsea are just obviously putting it about that they want him. But it has sort of it's interesting. I have found the conversation about it very, very interesting, because in years gone by, I think a lot of people would have sat there going, we can't sell it, mate. I think a lot more Evertonians now are a lot more switched onto the situation we find ourselves. And a lot of them will be thinking, I like him. He's a good talent. But I'd rather have the 50 million. And that's sad. That's really sad, that in football. Really, really sad that's where we are. Especially when I'm watching Nottingham Forest go out and buy players every other day, and and things like that. It's obviously they've come into the Premier League with a clean slate, but we are all very aware of where we are, and obviously I don't think a lot of us thought we would have brought this many players in. Now to me it almost feels like, well, if we could get 2 or 3 more, because I still expect us to get maybe 1 or 2 more anyway, but if you were going to get 50 million in for one player, and that meant you either brought in 1 or 2 more, but those 1 or 2 more were like much better, or maybe you could bring in another 3. That's football. That's the business of football nowadays.
If we get to the end of the transfer window, we haven't brought goals in, we haven't brought a forward in, then in my opinion, that's a failure, because last season we finished 16th with our main striker out. We've sold our top scorer. And that would tell me that they haven't replaced him or haven't planned to replace him. Now, if they're looking at having to sell Gordon to be able to replace those goals or bring anyone in, well, why have we spunked money up the wall on players like Nick Neal, who doesn't score goals?
Yeah, but
I understand that.
Yeah, but that's your opinion, though. That's your opinion of Dwight McNeil. The club might think of Dwight McNeil as a player that can play in a couple of positions, and they might have only put down 5 million for him. So that's them going, we've got to fill a position, and we filled it with a 22-year-old, and he'll get better and he'll develop. That's only 5 million quid. That's not, you've got to get away from this idea of thinking it's 20 million. It's not 20 million. It's 20 million over 5 years. It's 4 or 5 million this summer. That allows us to bring it in. The same with Onana. We obviously wouldn't have been able to bring him in if...
if he was 28 in a 2-year contract, wouldn't be able to afford it. But because he's young and he signed a long-term contract, that was better on the books, because rather than 15 million across 2 years or whatever, it's 5 across so many. But I think whether Gordon leaves or not, we should be bringing in a forward anyway.
Well, I think we will do. But I think the difference is the market opens up when you've got money. That's the difference. You're looking at Everton are looking at like Shea Adams at the moment, and Grassy or whatever his name is from France, and these kind of players. If we had 50 million, then maybe suddenly we're looking at Terrier, who Baz likes, and people like that. That's the difference, because you've opened up your FFP. Everton have obviously been on a tightrope all summer, but 50 million quid for a homegrown player is huge money in terms of FFP,
because it's pure
profit.
Didn't spend any money.
It's pure profit. So therefore, on the P&L, it suddenly becomes huge, that money, and it's sad that you have to think like that. But that's the mesh, by the way, the football club has got itself into. We're talking about this, and really there's no point having the discussion. We've done it to death. The club have got themselves in this position. That's on them. Now, that's maybe the discussion people should be having. Why at Everton? Why should Everton, with a billionaire owner, be in a position where they have to sell one of their young players, up and coming stars, for 50 million? But that's the sad reality of where we are. And unfortunately, I think the conversation's moved on now. We're in the season. We've seen the team. We know it can't score goals. What are we doing? Are we waiting until October, till Don comes back, to start suddenly scoring goals, or are we gonna do something about it? Well, we have to do something about it, and that means bringing in players. And unfortunately, if 50 million falls in your lap, you have to start looking and going, that would get us him, and him. But if that's not the conversation the club are having, if the club have knocked back the bid, or are not entertaining the bid, or have told Chelsea, listen, he's not for sale, and that's the end of it, well then hopefully that means that Everton are fine, and Everton have got have got players available and are going to bring them in. But I tell you what, if come the 1st of September and we haven't brought strikers in and Anthony Gordon's still a player and we could have got 50 million for him, then I tell you what, someone's heads need to roll, because that will be the reality of the situation. Is Everton won't be in a position to score goals in games of football, and we've got someone sitting in our team who could have helped with that situation. And again, that's sad. That's a sad reality, but that is where we are right now.
I said even before I went to America, that you can bring as many players as you want. Our main goal in the transfer window, obviously we had other positions and we had so many priorities, which shows you how bad we were last season. We sold our top scorer, so replace his goals, otherwise we're going to end up in the same place. And now Dominic Calvert-Lewin's out for however long, and we've still not replaced the goals. Hayden says, for 40 or 50 million, absolutely 10 times out of 10 you'd sell him. I think it was a straight player swap for Brozier or for Gordon. Most of us would rather have Brozier, so take the cash and buy the player we need. I don't know about a straight swap, because then Brozier playing up front, then you're missing a player like Gordon on the wing, aren't you? I'd want to replace Gordon and bring a forward in as well. James says, got to trust Thelwell and Lampard. So far they're doing well in the market. Hopefully they can spend if we do sell Gordon. Dean says, if we're getting 40 plus million for a player that came back from a loan to Preston 14 months ago, scored 4 goals last season and is easily replaced, and that is some great business. Well, Piv nailed it before in the chat. He says it's emotion versus business.
That's what it is.
AJ No says, if we were to sell, would you rather 50 million, money plus Brozier, money plus Gallagher?
No money
Gallagher.
plus anyone. No money plus anybody. Money.
If you get money, then you're...
Straight money.
You can choose where you can spend that
money. Straight money. On your books. That's how it works. Not Part X, not money plus loans. Money. Hard cash. To wipe the P&L. Sit.
Not Klarna.
No Klarna. Hard cash. Up front. Get it down. On the books. Do what we want.
Owen Brown says the question that needs to be asked would we buy Anthony Gordon for 50 million? And it's a definite no. We're not Chelsea though, are we? We're not in that position, so we must sell if that is a serious.
No, I don't think that's the question. The question is, if we had 50 million to buy a winger and we saw Gordon, would we pay 50 million for Anthony Gordon?
No, definitely not.
No. So what's the issue?
Buy 2 or 3 forward players, Terrier, Lang and a centre forward, maybe Brozier, but not happy with the straight loan, needs to buy. Yeah, a loan would be giving our player out for nothing, and we're like, oh, that's good, innit? Alexander says, hi boys, are we just getting extremely unlucky with the injuries that we're getting, or is it something the coaching staff are doing or not doing? It seems like we're getting a ridiculous amount of injuries. Dom, Godfrey, Mina and Decore are on the space of 2 games. Regardless, we can't continue with these kind of injuries as frequently as they're happening. At least, cheers boys, have a good one. Well, like stuff like the Godfrey injury, it impacts, isn't it? It's very unfortunate. Dom's is a different injury. Mina, I don't know if he's had that injury before. What was his again? Can't remember. He's had that many injuries. Ligaments. That's just him, isn't it? We've got top coaches now. We have different medical staff all the time. It just seems to be very unfortunate. Anthony said
everyone gets injuries, but other teams. I've said this a million times.
Other teams have replacements. So
we have no squad. I don't know how many times I have to say this. I said this all last year. It's not about your starting 11. It's about your squad. You've got to have 2 quality players in every position. But for some reason, we're obsessed with our starting 11. Who would get our starting 11? It's not about starting 11s. It's about your squad. The Corey goes out the team. Onana comes in the team. That's the way it should be.
You don't notice the difference that
You're not asked. You're not asked. Your centre forward goes out. Your replacement with the centre forward. That's how proper football teams work. Ours doesn't, because we don't have replacements. And this is why we struggled so badly last season. And that's why we'll struggle if we don't get squad players in this season. That's just the way it is. A Godfrey goes out. Holgate comes in. Fair enough. Now we've got Cody in. So that's hopefully you've got Keane sitting on the bench. I can kick the ball for us. You've got the manager using the wing backs to come inside and play as extra centre backs. That's sound. But you've got to have squad players. You've got to have players who aren't even squad players. You've got to have players who are just in contention to be in the first team, and that's what the class does.
Anthony says we need a striker in before the weekend. It would certainly help. That is a big game now on the weekend as well, isn't it? Got to get 3 points there, I'd say. It's not a must win as in like relegation must.
Every single game's a must win.
Yeah, it is massive. Certainly for the players. Terry says Everton would be stupid not to sell Anthony Gordon for 50 million. Will he honestly ever be worth more than that? Producing players and selling them for big money is what the club hasn't been doing and what most clubs look to do. Why are we now kicking and screaming as a fan base when someone comes in with money? None of the players from last season are above being sold if the club are stronger as a result. Yeah, that's a very fair opinion and one I do understand. I'm sort of like yesterday when it was all like when it was the Newcastle rumours last month or the month before where they were rumoured to bid 30 million. I was like, no, come on. I was like getting involved in a conversation, talking to Baz about it. Yesterday when everything came out about the Gordon thing, I was just like, come home from a gig, sweating, I'm shattered. I thought, I'm just going to shove a film on and just ignore it because I'm not really that bothered. Because to be honest, Saturday, watching that game upset me so much. Like, it was painful to watch that I'm just like, I just switched off for a complete. I'm just like,
why?
It was just awful to watch.
That's what I've been watching for the last 20 years.
I'm just getting really, really annoyed with it now. Like, you realise how much it ruins your weekend.
Which bit of it?
All of it.
No, but what bit? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Just the way we played, watching us struggle to play footy, not creating anything. It's just really frustrating.
And you wouldn't sell someone for 50 million? That could improve that.
Well, I don't know why you say it like that. Then.
But that's the point, isn't it?
I'm sorry. I'm in between. Business wise, it makes perfect sense.
It's not even business wise. It's football wise. This team, people must watch things that I don't see because the two performances I've watched, Everton,
was shocking.
Are just a very, very, very ordinary team.
Villa was
and people keep on telling me that a centre forward will sort it all out. Well, a centre forward will get his goals, but. And of course, Onana's going to start. But it would still be a very, very ordinary team. It has no patterns of play. It's a very, very ordinary team. It's not going to do anything this season until, Everton need to bring in major players over the next 3 seasons to start competing. And that's why I can't sit here and say I wouldn't sell a player for 50 million. It would open the doors. It would open the doors to bringing in better players. It's as simple as that. So,
Mark Foster says for 50 million, yes. With the way transfer payments are currently structured, we could get 3 players in, not 4. 3 decent players. Martin says if you take the emotion out of this, the 40-50 million being branded is around too good to turn down. Obvious I know, but reinvested correctly in the right areas will suit us in our current financial predicament. I like Anthony Gordon, but won't be too bothered if he left us. My opinion is that he is almost to his full potential. I wouldn't improve massively once he leaves us for elsewhere. Harry Waters, howdy. Steve Guy says if the figures getting quoted are true, then yes, pure profit. He may come good or he may do a Barkley, but we could improve the quality of the squad now with that dosh. Richie says, I feel like we have good business opportunity here that we can take advantage of. We're the type of club where even if he goes on to become a world beater, one of the top clubs will tax him off us in the future. Sell now while his stock is high. It's not like he's bringing goals to the team. Brozier and cash would be lovely. Yeah, you'd prefer all cash, but what I would say is, though, let's just not get too torn up on it, because at the moment, there's rumours that there's... What did you say at the start? That, like, there's no bid, or you don't even know what's happening yet. So let's just not all kick off if he ends up staying and we end up bringing a Che Adams or someone in, because we don't even know the situation yet. Like, there was all this big fuss around him going to Newcastle last month. It was never going to happen, and it never did. Andrew Ryan says, I believe we should sell Gordon. This is the way we should be run develop young promising talent. Should sell them high and reinvest low. Chances are Gordon won't make or break our season, but the 2-3 players we could get in with the money we get for him could. James Winstanley says if Chelsea offer 55 million plus, got to sell. Brian Murray says Ned is a bit meticulous. Graham Price says we should keep Gordon as he will improve with better players around us.
What better players? What better players? Where are these better players?
At the moment,
we are only getting better players in if we have an injection of cash. The injection of cash only comes if we sell a player, and the player we would sell is Gordon. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but this is the reality of the situation. We've seen all summer what the situation is.
What's your thoughts on Forest being linked with Dennis, 15 million?
They've bought him.
Have they, yeah?
They bought him 2 days ago. Yeah.
I need to keep up. What's your thoughts on that then?
I couldn't care less.
Really? I liked him, but we'll see how he does at Forest.
Why did you like him?
I just think he's a good player.
Why do you think he's a good player?
Big, physical, can
Why
play
do
on
you
the
think
wing,
he's a good
can
player?
play up front, and he scores goals.
Does he score goals?
Looked at all of his goals for Watford last season.
Yeah. When was the last goal he scored? How many goals he scored in the second half of the season?
Probably only like a couple because they stopped scoring. Under Roy Hodgson, they didn't score a lot. But so did Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and that's in Carlo Ancelotti's last season. Got off to a flying start and then slowed down. Yeah, he's still our Lord and Saviour.
Is he?
He would have been, but
is he?
Somewhere with a sore leg. Tom Newton says Gordon liked a post earlier which said, imagine how much seeing all our fans wanting him gone will affect his confidence. Yeah, there was something about, it was a tweet that was like something about slagging players off, and he liked it. So he will be like one the other day, and it was like a highlights of him.
How about you just be professional and do your job? How about that? How about you just do your job?
Who, Gordon?
All of them. Any footballer. Stop crying anytime fans decide that they have an opinion, and stop crying. Awobi, you were crap, and then you went good. Gordon, do it on the pitch, and stop. If your confidence is that fragile, never make it as a footballer. Never make it as a footballer. I think top footballers sit round on Twitter liking posts, whether they're good or not, what fans say. Never, ever, ever, ever make it as a top player if that's your attitude.
City players certainly wouldn't, and they're probably the best professionals. Ard says
Ronaldo doesn't even talk to his own manager.
True.
That's because he has a level, whether people like it or not. I don't like it. Top players don't sit around worrying about what fans say about them on Twitter. They just don't. Young or old, they don't. Sick of this thing of like, oh, his confidence will be hurt. You're paid a lot of money to go out and play football. I don't particularly think fans should be like aiming abuse at players on social media and stuff. Put at them and stuff. But we're fans. We will have a conversation. Fans have always had conversations. What's happened is it's moved from the pub to social media. That's all that's happened, right? If you're a player and you don't like it, don't go on social media then. It works both ways. You know, when they've had a boss game, they'll sit there lording it up going, oh, look at all these people saying nice things about me. If you're that fragile, you'll never make it as a professional footballer. That's just the truth. That's just the harsh reality of the situation. It's not nice when people are criticised, but everybody gets criticised when they go to work. If you've got a boss, he'll criticise you. We're in a way their bosses. We pay the money. We pay the money and we have our opinion. It's as simple as that. It's nonsense. If you can't handle it, get off social media.
You've seen how it affects players on the pitch. Remember Michael Keane coming out said he had mental health issues, and you know how much of a confidence player.
No, and I appreciate all that. I've got no issue with all that, right?
So that's why they should.
But it's this way of like when they like it and all that. Oh, someone said something nasty about me. You know, oh, I like it. I seen one yesterday. It was like, imagine trying to play up front, blah blah blah, when you're a left winger. And it was like, and he liked it. And I was like, what are you doing? You're a professional footballer, man. You're not a kid. You're 21 years of age. People have married and got kids by that time. I think Baz had about 7 kids by the time he got to 21.
Yeah, I'm 22 next month. I still play football.
You're a man. take responsibility. If you can't, don't play up to the positive stuff and then be gutted when someone says something negative about you. This is the business you're in. This is the business you're in. This is the business they're in. It's a whether we like it or not, people get paid lots of money to sit around and talk about footballers. You know what I mean? Some get very little, like you, but you get paid. A lot of people get paid to critique it. It will always happen. You can't sit there. You just can't sit there and go, "Oh, you know what? He wasn't very good today, but in 2 years he's going to be phenomenal." That's not how football works. That's not how it's a business, and people will be critiqued on it. If you don't like that thing, just stay away from it. Come off social media. Review what you've done. If you think you've done well, then fine. But don't worry. Fans' opinions change on a whim all the time.
And to a footy player, really, the fan's opinion means nothing.
It should mean nothing. It shouldn't mean... If a fan says you've had a poor...
What coaches are for.
If a fan says you've had a poor performance or a good performance, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. The only person... You're absolutely right. The only person should matter is when you go in on the Monday morning and you sit down and the manager sits there and the coaches, you analyse your performance. That's the only person that should matter. It should not matter what the fans think, good or bad, because fans' opinions change like that. If Everton had got a last-minute equaliser on Saturday, we'd be sitting here now going, "Oh my God, what a comeback! The spirit, unbelievable! Oh, towards the end there, Anthony Gordon was amazing. Oh, we'd be Rondon, what a difference he made." But we got beat. And suddenly it becomes a completely... And the difference in the performance was the ball never got knocked into the back of the net. Now, a manager, he walks away and he looks at that, and that's how he analyses the game. He analyses it going, "We got beat 2-1, but if we'd scored, we still weren't... The performance wasn't good because we didn't do this, we didn't do that, we didn't do the other." Or he might look at it and go, "You did everything right today, lads." It's why, and I know the Piv's watching, it's why things in the stat world have changed massively, where it's all analytics and they're looking at how you actually played, expected goals, all these different things that analyse your performance, not based on what the final score was, based on actually what happened in the game, what should have been the score and all these kinds of things. To a fan, that means nothing, most fans, because to us it's emotion, it's not the analytics of it. We see we got beat and we've been beaten 2 weeks in a row, and it's hard to look past that. But as a footballer, you have to look past that. You have to sit in on a Monday morning when the manager goes over the tape with you and says, what you did Ian in this game was brilliant. You did this, you did that, you did the other. Don't worry about any other noise. You did really well this week. Or you might have scored twice in the game and the manager goes...
Yeah, I was going to say, if a player scores twice, fans are going on social media and lauding him. You're going there thinking, "Oh, I had a great game." You might go on Monday and says, "I told you," and the manager says, "I told you." I told you just to sit in. You've gone press and play. You do that next week against City.
Pep Guardiola used to take players off at half time for Barcelona because they weren't following his plan.
Like going long and stuff.
Like the famous one was the centre-back going long to Zlatan, and Zlatan scored a couple of times. They took him at half-time, he went, "That's not the game plan." And the lad went, "Yeah, but we scored twice." I don't care. It's about the game plan every single game. It's how we break teams down every single game. That might have got us 2 goals in this game, but that's not how we do things. So players shouldn't be liking tweets of people saying nice things about them, because to me that sends the wrong message. That sends the message that they're sitting there going through what people are saying about them. That to me is not what a professional footballer should be doing at all.
Gas says I'd sell him in a heartbeat. He's not worth 40 million in my opinion. Ard says anyone who thinks 50 million is enough for Gordon, I have a bridge to sell you. Ger says honestly we need our heads examined if we turn our bids up anywhere near 50 million. The squad as it stands could go down. We should be jumping at the chance to get cash in and get 2 to 3 players in. We want the club to make smart decisions in the transfer market. Turning down these kind of bids would not be a smart decision. Derek says I don't see why not. No end product in his game. Teams are offering 40 plus million. What swap deal would you propose with Chelsea, Brozier or Batshuayi? No, I'd get all the money, and then if you want Brozier, go back in for Brozier. Lawson just says, really enjoy the 10th pint appearance. Ped should do taxi driver tales show. Do something.
I've done loads on here. I've done loads on them on here. Some of them I can't. There's a couple. I've couple there for that, but I just couldn't tell the stories on there. I've told loads of the stories on here. They're unbelievable. To be honest, I've forgotten most of them. It was that long ago.
Adam Smith says, are you expecting any movement on incomings this week, lads? Or is it likely to go to the final week before we see another? I don't know. Things can happen quickly, can't they? Things can be going on now that we don't know about. Wait and see. I imagine they'll be trying to get, especially the start of the season, they'll be trying to get plays in quickly, or forward at least. Margaret says, hi guys, no they shouldn't. We made that mistake with Rooney and didn't gain nothing from it. We should build around him and game.
Whoa. Hang on. We didn't get nothing from what? Selling Rooney?
We saved our club.
Saved the club, I'm afraid. Whether people want to wear it or not. Selling Wayne Rooney saved our club.
Paid people's wages, didn't it, to be fair?
Kept the club going.
He has bags of its potential. It will get better. Learn from coaching staff and players at the club. We need another striker with him to not burn him out, but not sell. We do need a striker. Ard said, is he a good footy player though? Yes he is, and everyone who does anything respectable in professional football thinks so. Lou says Gordon's currently out shopping in London. Apparently, wonder if that means anything. He just likes London. Maybe what's that shop down there? Is it Harrods? Might be into that.
Aldi.
Yeah. The Aldi in St Helens is all right. They got an aisle where she's got like crazy stuff. The survival aisle.
Oh yeah.
Gurr says one of Everton's biggest problems is the fear of selling players. How could anybody see selling Gordon for near 50 million as a weakness? That is a strength and should be our whole model of the club, how the club is run. If they're looking at it and they've got an exact plan and know we're going to bring in with that money and how to recuperate it, then great. If they've got no plan without it, if they're thinking, we've got no money and we've got no goals, then maybe they'll be forced to sell.
If Everton have got a plan for Anthony Gordon in terms of where he's going to play, what they want from him, how he's going to improve, then crack on. No issues with that at all. If Frank Lampard thinks he can develop the player into a top player, then let's crack on. But do me a favour, don't play him up front. Just don't play him up front, because at this age, he hasn't got the nous to understand how to play up there.
He hasn't got the instinct.
Just a simple. It's not even about instinct. It's about just knowing how to play a position. It's just that role is very particular role, and people think they can just go into that role. So play him in a position that suits the kid, because when he went on the left, media, I thought you've seen a huge improvement out of him. The kid's got talent, just doesn't always come together in the way he wants it to, and it's been difficult for him for the first two games because of the position he plays in. See, a lot of people, I think, whether players or fans or whatever, think you can take a talented player and you can move them into, say to them, I'll play up front and like a floating role, and you can come off the striker and you come off the centre backs and you can spin and all that kind of thing. And they get up there and they find that they haven't got any room, or the ball's not coming into them. And if it is, it's got to be perfect because they've got to spin, and it's such a difficult position to just be lumped into him. And I appreciate how difficult that must have been for Anthony Gordon, but I can't believe that Frank Lampard, after watching him play it the first time against Chelsea, thought it was a good idea to play him in another game. I really can't. I really can't.
Baffled me. Really confused. I was
because we
really
on Saturday, we were always on the back foot. We were playing deep, and it was a case of the tactics were we'll be sound.
There was no outball or
yeah,
anything.
but it was we'll be sound till Villa score, and Villa scored, and it was like, well, what do we do now? And it only changed when we made the subs. It only changed when we.
I thought the subs were a bit too late as well, to be honest.
Yeah, and listen, it was a very, very hot day, and that might have been the reason why he didn't start Rondon. It's dead easy to say, that's not, but it was boiling hot down there, and you're expecting a fella who doesn't start many games and who hasn't got a lot left in his legs to do a lot of the doggy work, which is what happens early on in football matches. It's you keep tight, you keep your shape, and it's only Frank Lampard said himself. They scored off the Corey not following a run through the centre of the park, switching off for a second, and then Onana losing the ball meant that they sprung us. So it's two moments where our midfielders sort of allowed them to get through. And that can happen when the game gets a little bit frantic or stretched or whatever. So, yeah, the subs... And again, though, when I was talking about the squad before, you've got to have players who can come on at any time. You're talking about... We didn't even have a centre-forward, but you're talking about a centre-forward who can come on at half-time in the 60th minute and the 70th minute, whatever it is, and come on and do a job for you. And if we're restricted by our centre-forward not being able to play more than, say, 20 minutes, that's an issue. That's an issue that Everton have not solved this summer. And that's criminal as far as I'm concerned. That is absolutely criminal. So, it changed when Onana came on. He gives a bit more presence. I know we lost the ball for their second goal. But he was trying to do something in a very congested area. But when you seen him do that on the edge of the box and suddenly the pitch opened up and their players couldn't touch him because he's down the box, suddenly that was like, oh, look at what we've got. And we forced the ball into the back of the net. Rondon suddenly gave us something to hold on. Gordon got all that space on the left, which he nearly scored from, and unfortunately Rondon was too slow to get the rebound. You know that's what happens when you've got a centre forward, and you know Anthony Gordon isn't a centre forward, and that shouldn't be used against him as far as I'm concerned, because he's not a centre forward.
Andy Campbell says sell, sell, sell. Isn't that a Paul McCartney, Michael Jackson song? Steve B says we'd be mad to turn down 45-50 mil for Gordon, in my opinion. If he was playing for any other club and Chelsea had bid that, we'd all be saying he's not worth anywhere near it. We're always talking about these teams like Lille and Sevilla making big money on players, then using it to improve the team. Yet when we get the chance to do it, we all get sentimental. If we can get 45 million for him, we can get a genuine quality goal-scoring winger like Martin Terrier plus another striker. There's 0 goals in this team. You are correct, there are 0 goals in it. Well, not 0, but you know there's not enough goals, certainly. Toffee 2 says Gordon to Chelsea is all about their owner. He is Mashiri Mark II, and he wants to pay 50 million then bite his hand off.
Difference is, though, he can pay 50 million, and the money Chelsea bring in, it's not going to hurt them. That's the difference. Chelsea can afford to bring in players who they look at maybe as a 2-3 year project. Everton's players, if they were to bring them in, have to be ready now to play in the Premier League, to get his goals, to get his points. Chelsea can go, well, two years. That's a 2-year project. He'll be signed in 2 years.
Load some more comments up. Mathew says, if Gordon's still here by the end of the window, I feel like people will get on his back a lot more if he has a bad game. Masses of people saying we should have sold him after a poor performance. Can't be good for his mentality. Ad says Ped siding with Souness, who watches Everton once a season.
No, I didn't say I was siding with him. What I was saying was it was an
an
outside view. I'm not siding with anybody. I've got my own opinions. I was showing you what was getting said on both sides, an outsider and someone who was close to Liverpool, as in a city, in Carragher. Carragher said Everton couldn't sell him because he was a local lad, and he was looking from a point of view of someone who watches football regularly. Souness was looking from that outsider view of someone who's gone, who's this? Andy Gordon hasn't done much. The kind of fella who's only watched them twice, and that's against Liverpool. That's what I'm saying. You've got two different views. One is the outsider who looks at them and goes, bite your hand off for 50 million. And the other view is Carragher. So please don't try and say what I'm saying.
Gray says, got to be 50 million plus, and we need to have prospective targets sorted already. Who can get us goals before we say yes, otherwise no dice. Personally, I would be saying at least 60 million to rinse Chelsea for all they're worth, but that's just me. Daniel O'Connor says this Gordon bashing needs to stop. If the lad didn't break through last season, we wouldn't even be in the Premier League. He's the heart and soul of the club. No, he's not the finished article yet because he's 21. And why would Chelsea even want him? They've got numerous players who play the same position. This is nonsense. Ned is right, not want to sell. Imagine if we were in a position where we weren't or our hands weren't tied financially, then I think everyone would be on the same page as me. But the fact that we need money and need players, then I understand why a lot of people want to sell.
I don't necessarily agree with that though. I think 50 million quid, whether Everton need the money or not, is a lot of money, and I honestly I look at it going 50 million is a lot of money for a player that I don't think is right now really destroying football clubs week in and week out. I think that's a hell of a lot of money. I think I said it before when I was talking about Lille. There's two fans can get very attached to players, but if I'm going to get attached to a player, that player has to do something for me, not just beat his chest and run round a little bit. He's got to really do something for me. He's got to really
Got to excite
grab me. He's got to grab me. There's got to be an emotional attachment to it. It's got to be like when Richarlison went. That lad for me kept us up. So I feel an emotional attachment to him. But I also understand why he had to leave. So it's a two-way thing. But Anthony Gordon, I understand a lot of people really, really like him. But to me, I look at him and just think, yeah, let's see what happens with him. I honestly look at him and go, I don't think he's particularly pulling up trees with us. He works hard. He got the odd goal last season. Fair play. It was his breakthrough season. So this season's going to be his big season. This is the one where he's grabbed the number 10 shirt. You know, he wants to go to that next level. Then let's see it. And maybe that's where people are like, oh, I want to see him get to the next level. I appreciate that. That's very understandable, especially for younger fans. I understand that a lot of kids will have got Gordon 10 this season. He is what you aspire to be. He is a young lad from Liverpool. I just think as you get older, you sort of start to you stop.
Because we've had plenty then, haven't we? When you get older,
it's not just that though, Ned. It's not just me being, oh, I've seen this all before, and it's, you lose them anyway. It's more of like you just. What you start to see as you get older is you start to understand how short football careers are. I've seen footballers start their career, end their career, and become managers. That's how. I've seen that now. It's you start to understand the football career isn't that long, and you actually move on pretty quickly. And I understand it can be hard. There isn't an emotional pull. And maybe I've just lost some of that emotion for players because I've seen so many come and go, or I've seen so many be letdowns, or I've seen what happened with, there is also that thing of like Wayne Rooney, Franny Jeffers, Ross Barkley, players who they end up becoming basically the villain. They end up becoming villains, and to me there's less emotion in it for me. I want to see Everton football. Someone said to me yesterday about the player and stuff. They were having a go at me because I said I'd probably sell him. I said it's what I want is the best for Everton. Whether it's the best for the player is a different thing. I want the best for Everton Football Club, and some people will be sitting here now going, "Well, keeping Anthony Gordon's the best for Everton Football Club." Sound no arguments with that. That's what they're your opinions. My opinions are I'm not sure whether that is the case. But what happens with football is you don't get much time to think about it in terms of whether it should or shouldn't. Would Ross Barkley have made much of a difference for Everton the last 3 seasons? Well, as a footballer, maybe a little bit. Could we have done better with the money that we bought in? Well, we didn't bring that much money in for him. Okay, should we have sold him earlier then for a lot more? Maybe we should have. Do you know what I mean? It's like how it's played out hasn't really helped us or him, and that's often what happens is that it doesn't really work out for the club or for the players. So listen, if he's staying, which it sounds like he is, then sound no issues. Back him. I'm not going to sit here grumble and going, oh, we should have sold you. The club have got a plan for him. and they can bring in players to complement him, and they can get him back in a position that's his proper position, then let's go for it. That's not on the player, by the way. That's on the coaches. That's on the club. No one should be sitting there, whatever happens, having a go at a player or whatever. It's on the coaches and the football club.
Yeah, if we don't bring in a forward,
that's on the football club. That's on the football club. It's not on the player. It's on the football club. We should have already had a centre forward in. You know what I mean? To me, I think it's a disgrace that Everton Football Club did not bring a centre forward in this summer, regardless of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think that's a disgrace, and that's on the director of football, that's on the manager, that's on the people above them, it's on all of them that we haven't got a centre forward, another centre forward at this club. And that's got nothing to do with selling Anthony Gordon or not selling Anthony Gordon. That's got nothing to do with him. That's on them for what they've prioritised. And I go back to what you said before, actually. You're absolutely right. Dwight McNeil shouldn't have even been in a conversation before we got a centre forward. Not a chance. Dwight McNeil, we'll look at him later maybe if we get a centre forward in, but it should have been a centre forward.
Should have been a priority.
It should have been a priority. You're absolutely right. It should have been. Dwight McNeil should have been, well, maybe we'll bring him in if we get a centre forward and a centre back in and a centre midfielder. Then we'll look at Dwight McNeil. So that's got, and that, you know, whether anyone's bid 50 million for Anthony Gordon means nothing. Means nothing. The football club should have prioritised a centre forward and not the last week of the transfer window because we might or might not get Brozier in. No, sorry, you're taking a risk there. You go and get a centre forward. You've sold Richarlison. Replace him with a centre forward. Then that should have been the priority.
The points we could drop this month, and points have dropped already, then could really cost
you.
The
points we drop all season. This idea that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is some kind of flawless footballer is just nonsense. We've seen Dominic Calvert-Lewin miss enough chances to know that he isn't the be-all and end-all of centre-forwards. We need another centre-forward. We need someone pushing Dominic Calvert-Lewin. We need someone who's going to challenge him. We need someone who's different from him. And that to me, the fact that we've played our first 2 games and have been beaten by a goal in 2 games that I didn't think we particularly played that good in, but had a chance to get something out of both of them, is exactly where we were last season. When I watched the game on Saturday, towards the end, the first thing that sprung to my mind was when we played Crystal Palace, and we were rubbish against Crystal Palace, and we had big chances to make it 2-2, and they went down the other end, and Conor Gallagher gets a worldie. But there was lots of games like that last season where we were rubbish, and yet we should have got something out of them. And that's because we didn't have another centre forward, or, you know, the Palace game, Richarlison went off injured, didn't he? And Don was already injured at that point. There was a lot of those games last season, and we're falling into the same trap again. So, you know.
Ruse says Gordon costing almost as much as Haaland is bonkers. The young English player tax is crazy.
I know.
Tom says yes, he's not worth 40 million. How can he be when all the wide forwards in low scoring teams like Cornet, who got 9 goals to Gordon's 4, go around for 15 million? It's far from certain that he'll ever have an end product and be worth 40 million. We should take the money while we can. It's too much to pass up, and that would mean we can definitely get 2 centre forwards in. I like Gordon for his effort, attitude and drive to get the team forward, but he's just not effective enough. Sell an overvalued player in a less essential position to get reinforcements in is much more essential, and avoid another relegation scrap. Guy Ward says, I say sell. The money could improve the squad more than Gordon does alone. And I'm not going to read that comment because that's just a bit weird. Gray says, liking the 10th...
Why did you even mention it then?
I was about to read it out and thought no.
Greg says... When you think no?
Gary says, liking the 10th podcast as well, Ped. They have a nice setup there as well.
Nice lads. Nice lads.
Glenn says, Ped, only question, yes or no, Frank Lampard is playing Gordon up front, so if he scores, his price goes up.
No, that's nonsense.
Yeah, I don't think that's how...
Right, we're finishing anyway. We'll be back at 5 o'clock on Premier, Toffee TV Premier. If you haven't joined, why have you not joined? Daily exclusive videos. We're off to do the final word as well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. We'll see you later. See you later.